Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we have another amazing guest. Yes, all of our guests are amazing because we know how to pick them well. But let's start by introducing my amazing co host, Deborah Drummond. How are you today?
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's always so nice. It's extra special nice when you compliment me because I learned a new term, that French term that where you give flowers and then you throw the pot. So now I'm prepared. I know that when comes this compliment, there's this zinger, and I'm like, all right, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? I'm super excited today too, because of course I've had the pleasure of knowing Marcy for a while, and being able to, when you meet Marcy, you meet you and you have a conversation, you have that coffee, you have that tea, you have that Zoom, whatever we're doing, you get to meet multiple aspects of her. And the interesting thing is when you meet somebody, they usually shine in one area. This woman, it's like you keep to move the flashlight because she shines in so many different areas, and she just somehow brings it together. Where some people, oh, they do this and this and this and this. Marcy's just this. Like Marcy's this, and she's great in all the areas that she does. And I love her story. But one of the things that when chatting with Marcy that really kind of comes into mind is that and she talks about the power of one of her favorite businesses that she does and how she throughout her life kind of kept coming back. And Caroline, I know that me and you, we have a personal relationship. Look at her face. She's like, oh darn, the pot's coming my way. You gave me the flowers, pot's coming your way. Okay, exception of your insatiable appetite for popcorn to the point where you're making people mad at the store because you're taking all the popcorn and they're not allowed their limit. One of Caroline's, worst days was that when the store cut her off from buying more popcorn, and then she went to another store and they did the same thing. But anyways, outside of sharing your personal life, I know that there's been things that have been so cool for each of us, and we go back because it's a great place that feeds us positively. And then there's times in our life, hopefully they're behind us, that we look back and there was things that we just kept going back to that didn't necessarily serve us. Maybe there was a bigger lesson in the world. Like sometimes you go back to learn things or bring people into your life to learn things. So other than popcorn, has there been anything that you just couldn't give up?
Well, okay, I want to clarify one thing first before going about, the store did not ban me. There was a pandemic and we could only buy the essential. And apparently popcorn is not essential. I don't know who makes the rules, but anyway, but that did bring some positive because people in my household have learned how to make it homemade. They want to make sure there's no one that is grumpy. So
Silver
I now
lining.
have homemade sweet and salty popcorn, which is amazing. But now it's like it's starting to fade a bit. But yes, it's funny because before we met Marcy and really went through her story, and we found that the general theme was really, I kept coming back. For me, that always had a negative connotation before.
Mm.
Because usually when you say that to someone, well, stop going back, it doesn't sound good. It's always like, well, stop putting yourself in the same situation. But what I love about the story that we'll hear is that in this instance, it's super positive. And I think that, keep going back to what you feel that's really where you belong, sometimes without knowing it. Sometimes in our younger years, we'll keep going back somewhere. We don't know too much why we're doing this. And eventually we wake up one day and we're like, oh my gosh, that's why I did it. That's where I belong. So I will introduce Marcy and Marcy Schacter, who is a person who kept going back. But what are we talking about here, Marcy? What did you keep going back to? First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. Well, the question of what kept bringing me back really goes back to my roots, and my Jewish family upbringing was very tight. We had I had three siblings, so there were four kids in the family, and it was a tribe. It was its own community. And then you had a myriad of cousins and aunts and uncles. And I guess, we're very family oriented. So that's when I felt happiest in my life, when I was surrounded with this energy. And it was always energy. I mean, noisy, argumentative, fun loving, laughing, So when you think about it, if you look at network marketing, it is another tribe. It is a tribe of people that are on the same page, that love to laugh together, learn together, play together, grow together. And I think that's part of it, is that, and my very first business, Carolyn, was in 1982. I had been an actor for many years, struggled through the self worthiness and couldn't quite get to the place where I could really launch my career. But I know I had talent. I know I had drive. I just had this block. And I think what was missing for me in the acting world was a sense of safety. I didn't feel safe in that tribe. People would step on each other, lie to each other, try to, psych each other out. And it just didn't feel good. So that was a big move for me in 1982 when I stepped away from my acting career. And I had been acting like I enjoyed it for a long time, within that career. So when I stepped into my first business, it was personal development, facilitating workshops. And I started out just being the producer, and then eventually the facilitator over the years, from 1982 to 1987. And that was another tribe and another community, but it was all built on win-win. So I've termed my new phrase in my LinkedIn profile, you'll see it. It says win-win warrior. That's what I'm fighting for people to work on a win-win platform and not to be competing and, trying to psych each other out, or, it doesn't matter which company you're with in network marketing, you're part of my tribe. That's how I feel about it. That's part of the bigger reason why I keep coming back. It is a tribe of people that really care about others. That's important to me.
That's incredible. I think that, like Caroline said earlier, sometimes when we go back to something, there's really something there. I think that you've done a really great exploratory, and I think that comes with being professional. I think that comes with someone that's got your experience. One of the things that I found really interesting about when we were chatting earlier was how, and Caroline nailed it down when she talked. It's like, you talk about being a black sheep. So here you're talking about being a tribe and belonging and feeling part of, which is very opposite to an experience that you had where you didn't feel part of, you didn't feel like you belonged. What was that like?
Well, first off, as I grew up in a family, my mom was beautiful. I mean, like ballet dancer, never gained a pound her entire life, like I took after my grandmother, the big bosom and the whatever, short waist. My mom had the long waist, graceful ballerina and a piano player and an artist and a great social, like everybody loved her. And my dad was funny and adorable, and my brothers were talented and skillful and smart. And I felt like, what do I have? Not much at that point when I was this awkward teenager. So I didn't feel like I really found myself until, weird thing is, I remember it was a defining moment. It was grade 5. I really didn't fit in at school. I didn't fit in quite the way I wanted to at home. I tried, but they were stronger, they were funnier, they were faster. I just felt like a little bit of a, I don't know, like a wallflower. Hard to believe of me today. As I've gone the opposite direction. But that took years and years of work and faking it for a long time until it felt real. But when I was in grade 5, one day, this little wallflower, shy kid that wouldn't talk to anybody, the teacher made a big fuss about my painting. I did this crazy, we had a chocolate bar wrapper we had to make a painting around. And I remember mine was a York bar. And I made a beautiful horse. I loved horses, animals, right? She went nuts. She made the hugest fuss about this painting, and she framed it and hung it behind her desk. And that was when I went, oh my God, I'm an artist. That's what I am. That's how I can be different. And then the same thing happened a year later when I was voted to play the lead role in a Shakespeare play, Midsummer Night Dream. And again, for the first time, feeling validated. And now I started to grow and develop some confidence. Not a lot, but some. And it just kept going. That's what happened. It just kept developing.
Isn't that crazy though? Like that's totally a sideline, but we don't realize the impact we have on a kid.
Yep.
When we say little things, and that could be positive or negative. But I love to meet a bunch of different people and have their life story. because we all remember this defining word or moment, and quite often from a teacher or a schoolmate, but it's clear in our mind as if it was yesterday. And
Oh yeah.
that teacher probably didn't realize the impact she had on your life. So we need to be careful when we
Yeah.
talk to our kids. And it's really the place where we can build someone. So
Mhm.
that was
Yep.
a side note. I'll let you continue because I know that after you went into building businesses and
Yeah. So that took me into the acting career, right? Obviously, right out of high school, I knew I was going to Studio 58 Langara, and I was the youngest person ever accepted into that program, and it was a tough. It was soul crushing, is what it was, and that was
mm,
my first huge disappointment in life, crushed by the system. And it took everything out of me. I was so angry. And I decided at that moment, and because that was not a win win environment, that was clearly not. And I remember leaving that school and going to Montreal after that and saying, never again, never again will I allow somebody to crush my dream and take it from me the way this person did. And again, that's one person, a defining moment. And because I got angry, that's why I got into teaching acting, because I thought if I could be exactly what that teacher hadn't been and be caring and supportive and love on people. And that's again coming back to network marketing. What do we get to do? We get to love on people and care about their dreams and want to make them the best version of themselves. So there's a lot of parallels in teaching acting and people to learn to love their flaws, their imperfections, stop criticizing themselves when they get on camera, love themselves and support each other. So why does network marketing keep coming back? Is like I see it all around me in every company, even if they're not perfect. And let's face it, there are problems in every company. But at the essence, that community of lifting each other up, always lifting each other up to be the best version of themselves, I love that. That ties in with everything for me.
I think that's really powerful. And you'll hear a lot of people will have that experience. I think even as a parent, you think about what did I get that I want to pass on? I mean, one of the things that I got from my mother, I mean, that woman was very big on thanking people and thank you cards and make sure, I mean, it's a simple little thing like this. And me and my other girlfriend were talking about how it's almost impossible to get her, teenage son to write a thank you card. It's like those things that you remember. And then the things that you're like, I had this experience and I want to do it differently. Whether it's in parenting, whether it's in business, whether it's in teaching, like you becoming the teacher that you wish you'd had, becoming the parent I wish I'd had, becoming the leader in network marketing I wish I had, being the sponsor, being the what have you, understanding that no one's perfect, but understanding the impact, right? Understanding the impact. I think, again, that's a very common theme, but it's not something that a lot of people will hold on to. A lot of people will still have those feelings of that experience and they haven't worked through them, right? There's a little pocket of resentment or a little pocket of this or a little pocket of bitterness against that industry, against that person, against that sector, against that what have you. It takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to convert, right? It's a lot of energy to convert over and then to take it to this extreme where you're like, you became the teacher, you became the teacher. That's quite an incredible feat. So
but
where are you at now? Where are you at now? What, all this has
Wow.
come together because you are one of those people and someone says, hey, do you know any serial entrepreneurs? I'm like, this woman, when I talk to her, she's always bubbling. Like there's things always flowing, right? So
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the Pisces trait in me, very, um, fish swim in either direction. So I'm very adaptable and I've worked, I mean, some of the jobs I've had, okay, retail fashion sales with my family boutique business, timeshare sales, chef, um, what do you call, acting coach, producer, director, writer, playwright, running conferences and events, putting on culinary retreats, doing network marketing in the wellness industry. Like people have laughed about me, you know, when they introduce me, sometimes they go, I don't know what to say about you. I don't know. And they go, well, you know, I'm colorful. You can say that. I have many, many hats I've worn. And I think that's partly because of the artist in me, that I really
Right.
wanted to experience different, you know, I've worked up in a gold mine as a cook in the gold mine in the Yukon and Nunavut. And I've been a corporate businesswoman. I don't know too many people that have been able to do both of those. And they had different sets of challenges, you know,
Yeah.
working with Neanderthals in the isolated far north, and then working with corporate people in, you know, high level
Yeah.
positions in the big city. And also go further, like growing up in Montreal, very cultured family, very academically educated, you know, worldly, and then moving to North Vancouver and being what I thought was in a little fishing village at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and having to
Mm-hmm.
make that kind of adjustment. So it's made me versatile. It's made me fluid, and that I can go in different directions if needed. And I
I
do think
think,
that's what makes a good salesperson, by the way, is being able to tune into all different types of people.
I
right.
think
And
that,
I,
sorry,
Yep.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go.
you know, there's one thing that I can relate to you because I've done a lot of different things that are not necessarily linked together. But there's one thing that I realize as I grow older, my versatility, and I feel that in you as well. A big part of it is because I live in the moment and
Mhm.
I don't stay attached to, you know, my past or, you know, let's say I was a chef. I wasn't. But for you, let's say some people will put in their mind they're a chef and they will stay in
Mhm.
that box
Yep,
forever. And
definitely.
I've never been afraid to do whatever else. Like I say yes to things and then I figure them out. Like now that I'm getting older, I'm a bit better with what I say yes to. But my whole youth was like that. And I feel like you're telling your story, and I didn't go to your extent, but you also seem like you really live in the moment. And I also think that when you live in a moment and you get to really know yourself, and you don't, you know, you talked about the fact that you felt like the black sheep. You had to grow out of that role. So you really had to come to terms with yourself. And, you know, what did Marcy want? What was she able to do? So you stopped wanting to impress everyone and you went on to do all of your
Mhm.
things. And that's probably one of the big reasons why we're not used to seeing someone going from one place to the other because, you know,
Well, the judgments, the fear of judgments that, you know, believe me, I spent my life getting judged by lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned something way back when I did the first personal development workshop back in 1981 in Toronto. A guy in the class, you know, he kind of had a crush on me, but I wasn't going there with him. I had just broken up from a 5-year relationship, so I was not ready. But one thing he said to me, I never forgot it. He said, Marcy, if somebody doesn't light up when you walk in the room, they're not your friend. If they don't go, hey, Marcy's here, or the phone and they go, hey, Marcy's calling, that's not your friend. And I spent a lot of years, probably because I felt like that black sheep, trying to
Mm-hmm.
make everyone like me, get their approval, be the nice person, be the polite person, be the appropriate person. I spent the first 25 years of my life doing that. And so when that moment came, and it was in the workshop that I did in 1981, that it said, you know, celebrate you and what, and we wrote down 100 things we wanted to do in our life. And I haven't done them all yet.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more. I got to live a long time to get to that big list.
I think that's incredible, and I'm glad that you talked about the judgment because that's one of the things that that I see and I've heard. And as someone who's a creative, you know, so doing more than one thing, there was a whole methodology around for quite a while. As someone who's been in business for, you know, we've all been in business for multiple years, right? And I remember people saying to me, "Just focus on one. Just focus on one. Just focus on one. Nail it down." Well, I had two companies and they're like, could you imagine the power of two if you could just put it into one? And there was, honestly, I was buying into it there. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I've got too many things going and I should just put everything into one. And it was there was a big methodology around it for a while, judging people that were like, you're spinning plates, you're always doing something. And then when you try to explain to somebody, this is how I wake up. I
Yeah.
don't get up in the morning thinking like you and then decide to be dysfunctional. Like it doesn't work that way, right? I wake up and the person you see that you think is not, in your box wakes up at the same time. Sometimes my head wakes up before I do and I wake up and I'm like, oh God, how can you be thinking already? Right. It's like, it's the mind of the creative. And it's like, so what do you do? I just came off a call. So like, oh, so what does everyone do? And I'm like, oh, podcast and book and, network marketing, speaking. And I'm in a group of women that are okay with that. But it's very interesting. And the other thing that you said that I absolutely want to highlight for people that has also been getting a bad rap is this whole thing around oh, you shouldn't fake it till you make it. Get out of town. And when I hear that, people are like, oh, let's be authentic. I am authentically sucking at something and until I get good at it, right? You know what I mean? Like I authentically
10,000 hours, right?
Yeah, I don't feel like, let's just, whatever it is my goal is. Let's say I want to be a billionaire. Okay. Well, I'm not a billionaire right now. So I'm going to fake being a billionaire and go buy myself some nice expensive perfume until I get there. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of power in faking it until you make it. And
Yeah, it's called affirmations too, like being grateful for something you don't even have yet. And you mentioned something that triggered the talk about the dual personality. When I first started with my personal development programs back in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of it out there. I was like a pioneer in everything I've ever done. And you always get the arrows in your back when you're the pioneer, always. And I worked with a man who had the arrows in his back, and he led this movement of human potential in New York and brought it with me to Vancouver. But I remember at one point I had an office, one across the hall from each other. One of them was marketing a daytimer time management book, which was really cool and colorful and came from California. I met these people when I was down at an acting workshop. And they said, yeah, we don't have this in Canada. I said, well, I can import it. So I called it Time Mastery Consultants. And I had this book I was importing. It was gorgeous books. And I was selling them to all the realtors. And so I had an office on one side of the hall for Time Mastery. And across the way, I had the Actors Institute, which was the personal development programs. And I would go back and forth between the two offices. I loved it. I loved it because it's like part of your brain, there's a left brain, the right brain. I needed both. And I learned that years later when I went to a Bob Proctor training and I said, how do you balance out the creative and the business? Because when I'm doing my art, I feel like I'm ripping myself off from developing my business. And when I'm doing my business, I feel like I'm taking away my joy and feeding my soul. He said, no, you must never do that. Take on at the moment, be in the now, like you said, Carolyn. And at the moment you're doing your art, think of nothing else but that. And you're feeding your soul and your creative brain to be good in the business that you do. And when you're doing your business, you're fueling your bank account or your skill sets to take into the artistic world and market yourself. So once I got that one straight, I was able to carry both quite happily, but I don't think a lot of people do that. I don't think they're comfortable with that.
That's a brilliant visual. I'm a visual person. So as you're talking about having two different, I'm laughing in my face off because I'm like, that's perfect. Like how it's actually very well organized too, by the way. So you've got this company and someone, right? So Caroline, I got to ask you, as you're listening to Marcy speak, right? It's like, shall I say a popcorn of ideas that's going off? But as an entrepreneur, she's like, give it up already. Okay, 2021, I won't mention popcorn again. How's that? I'm just so excited. I was so excited because it was Caroline's first Facebook Live. And as women in business, as women, and I'm saying women in business because we're all women here, but as people in business this year, man, has it not been the year of reinventing yourself? And so I've been able to we've watched each other. So this year, Caroline, in terms of your business, right? Where did you have to get the most creative? Where did you have to kind of reach out of the norm of maybe what you were doing, what you thought you were going to be doing? Like, where did you have to have multiple, offices, and where did you have to pull from? Like, where did you get your chutzpah to do what you've done this year?
I had to build a few offices in my house because we're now sharing. It's like the bathroom almost is an office that's for non-important meetings and this and that. No, but just kidding around. My biggest thing is, you said it, I had to reinvent myself, and it just gave a bunch of beautiful new projects, like the podcast, like books and everything. But and you're laughing at my popcorn live, but yes, it was my very first live ever, and I guess I was mad enough that they denied my popcorn that I just jumped on and did a live. But they had been teaching me for the past 2, 3 years, just do one live on Facebook. But my business was going very well, and it was not a need. I wasn't desperate for it, so I was not doing it because I did not want to be on camera. And it's funny because everything that Marcy said, it was me. Didn't want to be on camera, this and that. But I did what her motto is, really. Feel the fear and do it anyway, make it happen. And my popcorn life was not thought about, but it did throw me into something else. And then after that, I was just like, well, now I need to do another one and say something smart. I don't want to stay the popcorn girl. So anyway, I developed that through my business, and I'm glad. Like, for me, the whole pandemic and everything was a positive experience. I empathize with everyone that it wasn't, but for me it was, because it helped me grow outside of my comfort zone, and it made me discover another zone that I didn't even know was there. And honestly, it just really helped me boom in my business. And I look at all the amazing people we met, like Marcy, that I didn't know before, but that was all done through network marketing. But for me, one of the big things was this year, I realized how powerful our industry is. I always knew it, but I really felt it because we did not struggle, we thrived. And it really helped me step into the shoes of, like, I am a network marketing professional, and I'm not gonna, dodge the title anymore. And I love that Marcy is always going back to this industry. And the more that I'm listening to her, the more that I think it's because it's really an industry where you are allowed to be yourself. Most people are doing their personal development in there. And I'm not saying we're all perfect in this industry. We are not. It depends which level you are at and everything. But it's just that personal development is almost a non-negotiable that comes with the industry if you want to succeed. And I mean, Marcy, you do have a lot of success, and you are part of our book that is called 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing for a reason. But, I want you to elaborate a bit more into how you embrace your personality at some point to just say, I'm diving in this industry 100% because I can actually be whoever I want to be in this.
Well, yeah, I think that's true for anybody who decides to make this a career and not just dabble. There's unfortunately the bad name that this industry has gotten over the years is because there's been a bazillion people who just dabble and expect to earn an income. Like, oh, I think I'll become a concert pianist and play at Carnegie Hall tomorrow. I took 2 piano lessons. That's the analogy. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. They have never learned any of the skills, and they'll blame the industry, which I think is so sad because, often I'll say to people who hate the industry, I'll try to get to the core of what they hated. And usually it was something like, oh, I lost a friendship. Somebody was too pushy with me, or I was too pushy with them. So they didn't learn the skills. That's all it was. And it would be like, go out and practice medicine, on somebody. You could kill them. And here you could kill your friendships. You could kill your credibility very quickly if you don't understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think the why, that's another piece that comes very often into personal development and discovering your life purpose. We did a lot of that work back in the day. And if you are really in tune with your life purpose and it fits into this vehicle of lifting people up and helping them achieve their goals and their dreams, there's nothing that is more satisfying. I mean, I've owned 7 businesses in my career. Started, some of them lasted 5, 6 years, some of them lasted a few months. But I always went in with this passion for whether it was food and doing culinary retreats in Whistler, Italy, or whether it was starting a film and television expo I did in 2006. And I had a dream to bring together the community. It was always about bringing together the community and making it better for everybody. So with this model, why would I keep leaving traditional business, which you would think, if you have a passion for being an entrepreneur, you'd not want that stigma of network marketing and just stay in a traditional business. But I'm going to tell people, if you're thinking about that, think again. In the world we're living today, it is so much easier to do a network marketing business. The low cost of startup, the support you get, the mentoring, the personal development with a paycheck. I mean, where do you get that? Where do you get that people who in a corporation I worked in, a big one, they didn't care about me. They cared about the bottom line sales. They didn't care what my goals or my dreams were. Don't even think they ever asked. Really, quite honestly,
Mhm.
that does not exist in a traditional environment for most businesses. And once you get that and you realize this is a very special place we are in the time in history where more people will embrace this. And I encourage every woman who has a dream to not settle, not say, oh, well, I'll have to learn to live on this amount and, my kids won't get to go to Disneyland. Never, ever say that, never. And I will never give up on my dream. And I don't care how old I am. It's going to the day I can no longer walk or talk. It's going. My dad was like that too. Come by it on.
Tenacious. The word that comes to me is very tenacious, right?
Yeah.
But tenacious with empathy. I mean, understanding where people are coming from and then being able to get them to see it in a different light, right? I mean, I think that's what we do, whether someone didn't have a good experience or whatever it was, just didn't know enough. And I think when I listen to you about being tenacious and, being willing to take this risk is, I want to, it's like I want to put you in front of people that have come into the network industry, right? And didn't have success the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they leave. And we were just talking and it's like walking into IKEA and not getting the best quality service from a service rep. And you're like, never going to IKEA again.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't happen. You'd be like,
That
all
experience.
right, that person's having a bad day. And if it made you did leave, you don't give up on the IKEA. You don't give up on the dream. You don't give up on the business model. You don't give up on leveraging your income. You don't give up on building your dream. You just had one bad experience or your interpretation of bad with so what would you say to the person who's only ever done one time I just think you're the perfect person to talk to someone like that.
Well, number one is, have you ever gone and had a bad, meal at a restaurant? Does that mean all restaurants are bad? Have you ever had a bad teacher? Yes. Have I had good teachers? Yes. There's good and bad in everything. Good cops, good mothers, bad mothers. It's a judgment, but yeah, some people are just not good at that particular thing. Might be good at other things. But if I was to say to somebody who gave up after, barely trying this, I guess I would ask them, why did you even begin this journey then? What's behind this? What's driving you to even reach out and try something new? And by the way, I really know that I have failed my way to success over and over and over. How many times I've fallen down and then gotten back up. And, some people are amazed by that, but I mean, like, what choice do I have? I didn't win a lottery. I don't have a huge inheritance that was going to just put me in the lifestyle I wanted. So it was up to me, that old saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. So I never blamed anyone. Like in my very first network marketing business, Deborah, my sponsor left the minute I joined. She was out the door. Then her sponsor left and their sponsor left. And then I went all the way up to the very top guy in Oregon and got on a phone call with him and said, I need your help. I need to know how to do this. And nobody here is helping me. And I was way down in the leg. So he took an interest in my determination to get whatever I needed. And I showed up at every conference. And by the way, no excuses allowed. I have suffered financially many times, and I still put the money out to go no matter what, because it fed me. It built me up. It made me 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Nobody can tell me this industry is not the best industry. Nobody.
And what I really love, and yes, Malcolm Gladwell said it very well, and you said it too, it's the 10,000 hour rule. There's no one that starts school and then after a few months, because thank God my kids would all be out, but is like, you know what? This is not working for me. I'm done. We all know that you're going to do your elementary and then you're going to do your high school and then your college, well, here anyway, and then your university. But it's like me when I went on to get my bachelor, I knew it was 4 years. I knew it. I didn't sit there like after the second class and that boring teacher in finance that I could not understand anything. And I'm visual and he was only talking and I was just like, please, I wanted to stick a pen in my eye. But you know, I didn't quit my bachelor there because I knew, okay, this is one bad class in one semester out of six. It's one bad teacher out of the lot. I'll fail this class and I'll pass the other ones. I'll be fine. But I mean, my expectations when I started was that I knew I would suffer. I knew I would get headaches reading books I didn't like because there was subjects I didn't like, but they were part of the curriculum and I did them, and I knew that all of that would only really get me a paper. It wouldn't get me a guaranteed career at a six-figure income, but I went through all that just to get the paper and then have the chance to go get a position somewhere that I would start at the bottom and have to work my way up. But I mean, this is, it's life. And I think we're so drilled that you need to go to school and then have a career for 40 years to finally retire on 40% of your income. And, all those things that you could not do while you were in your regular 40 years of regular life because you didn't have enough money or whatever, you're supposed to all do it in your 40% of income when you retire. So travel the world, play golf, and not that I like golf, but you get the point that I'm saying. So I think it's just been drilled in us for so long. And yes, there has been network marketing companies in the past that have done shady stuff, but just like any other companies and everything. And what I love about your story, Marcy, is that you've navigated between traditional business, network marketing, traditional business, going back to network marketing. You did that dance, and now you finally decided that no, I'm done. Why put all of these efforts in when there's actually a platform that offers me everything that I can? Because in the end, you will be paid on the efforts you put in, whether you do traditional business or whether you do network marketing. Like
But
I'm sure
without half
there's,
the headaches,
yeah,
without the headaches.
exactly.
I can handle a few headaches that you're going to have in the network marketing space. And I know we're getting close to the end of the interview, but I wanted to mention something that people have to learn resilience in this industry. And because they're not, they don't have a boss. You're the boss. You're the one that decides whether you're going to sleep in, whether you're going to do power hour with your team, whether you're going to go to that conference. Nobody's making you do anything. It's a volunteer army. And because of that, if you have no discipline, and I'm not the most disciplined person, I will tell you, I am not a disciplined eater. I am not disciplined when it comes to exercise, but I am disciplined about my dream. And I've poured a lot into that. And I think if the dream is big enough to avoid pain, I will do anything. And the pain of never being able to travel the world and experience different cultures, the pain of having to work in a box, you know, that's too much for me. I would prefer this pain over that pain. So you pick your pain, you pick your pleasure. And to me, this one adds up to so much more. And I encourage people just to keep an open mind always. Like you really don't know what you're capable of until you step into a vehicle like this, because you're tested, right? At every level. Your compassion, your discipline, your focus, your belief in yourself, your belief in your products, your belief. I mean, there's so many things that can take a person out. But that's true in business, any business.
There's one thing we didn't touch on and that I really wanted to touch on because you've explained it so well in our pre-interview, but it's the imposter syndrome, because I know that in this business, so many people have it. And you gave me an amazing explanation and how to overcome that.
Well, yeah, that goes back to when I was in my very first business, and I had built up a company with hundreds of volunteers and staff and a building I was managing, and I was like 26 or something, 27 at the time. And I looked around a few times and I went, oh my God, I mean, I've created this thing and I'm not worthy of this title. And people would come up to me, and I was never comfortable as an actor either. When people would come up to me and praise me, I would always be like deflecting, don't want to brag. God forbid you're a bragger. I hate braggarts.
Mhm.
So I would deflect it. And the same with the business. Every success I had, I would be motivated to take on bigger and bigger challenges and scare myself, because the slogan was, if you're not dangerous, you're dead. And I took that to heart in life. If you're not a little dangerous, you're walking that line where, you might as well just jump in the trench and then might call it a day. But I really believe that that's what makes a person alive. And when you said earlier, Deborah, getting up in the morning and being excited about whatever might be present in your world at that moment, that's what life should be. And that's like a child. And so when I came to that place, going back to the imposter thing, and I thought, well, how did I become this person? And I didn't feel comfortable. I I couldn't even accept the praise. I couldn't even
Mm.
let it in that I had accomplished anything. And I remember my mom giving me heck one day when a crowd of people at the end of a weekend workshop wanted to give me a standing ovation that went on and on and on. I couldn't wait to get off because I didn't think I deserved it. And it took years for me to recognize, yes, you did, and I am that person. When I said fake it till you make it, most people who are successful, the first time they do an interview, they're terrified. But if they're good
Mhm.
at their whatever subject matter, their focus is on that and they'll get through it. And even if they blunder, I know I'll always get through no matter what. I'm not going to die from it. So if anybody feels like an imposter, I think it's okay. Acknowledge
Mhm.
it, own it, and let it become the next thing, which is that is who you are. That is a part of when you become an actor. You have to learn how to tap into all aspects of your personality, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's the same thing. You can't pick one emotion and say, I'm only going to show anger. You got to show them all. And it's in life too. We won't become who we're supposed to be if we don't push those boundaries. And that's what I love about what we do, and what I love about the arts. Same thing. They're tied together.
I think
Hopefully that
that's so,
answers what you
no, I think
asked.
it's so critical. I think it's so critical because how many of us have stood there to get praise and we deflect? Whether that comes from our head telling ourselves, whether it comes from culturally being told, whether it's, children should be seen and not heard, like wherever that's coming into, it can be difficult. And just having you say that allows people to be comfortable in their uncomfortable. I think the one thing about this whole industry, and I think about life, if you are venturing for a better something, even if you're running a marathon, you're going to be uncomfortable in training, right? If you're going for that award, if you're going for that, right, that accomplishment in your company, you're going to get recognized on stage. A lot of people are like, I don't really want to go, or it's okay, I don't need to go on the trip. It's like, oh no, it's the process of learning and earning the trip and getting on the plane and being there. That is such a lesson of self-esteem and self-deservedness and worthiness that is, part of the t-shirt is what I mean. It's like the movies we've seen, the books we've read, the quieter and the more demure, the more like all that stuff comes into play. And I think it's really important that you mention it, because I think it's something that people go through at all levels, whether you're here or whether you're Oprah, coming off the stage and going, did I do okay today? Perfectly normal, and still happens, right? I mean, look at Barbara Streisand. She could barely, what was it, $3 million to do a concert once because she just really, the stage fright because of one incident, in New York where she was singing at 27 years old and she forgot the words. And
Yeah.
so for the rest of her career, she struggled with getting on stage, right? So I think good on you. But as we wrap up, right? As we wrap up, Is there anything that you want to say to bring it together, to encapsulate? Yes, we're all part of a book, 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing Tell All. And what I can tell the people that are listening and watching, Marcy, if you thought she told all here, you should read her chapter. It's so great. It's so great. So you're gonna want to get the book and read what she has to say for sure. But Caroline and Marcy, I'm gonna kind of step back and let Caroline finish it out. But what do you guys? How do you want to wrap this up? What do you want to say?
What do I want to say? Well, that we should be more prepared than that. I'm joking. No, but Marcy's going to give her contact information. If ever you want to reach her, ask her questions. I know that she does much, much more than her network marketing business as well. She's an amazing coach. She's an amazing person to chat with, basically. So, Marcy, I'll let you close all of this up, give your information, and we'll also put it with the podcast. But it was an honor and a pleasure to have you on. Thank you. Thank you. And the stage is yours.
My pleasure. So you want me to give my email? Is that what
You
I'm?
give
Absolutely.
whatever
So
you
just
want to.
whatever
Yeah.
you want, and what
Okay.
your final piece of what you want people to know.
Well, my final piece is I believe that we all have something deep in us that needs to be done in our lifetime. We have a finite period in which to do it. And I just tell people, from my heart, like, be courageous. This is it. It is not a dress rehearsal. It is the real deal. This is the show. It has a curtain that's coming down at the end. And I don't want to end up at the end of my life saying, oh, geez, I wish I tried that. Or I wish I told this person how I felt. I never want to regret anything. And when you talk to elderly people, that is something that's a common theme is, they don't regret what they did. They regret what they didn't do. So if you have a dream in you, I believe it is worth fighting for. And you wouldn't have it if you weren't capable of it. When I started screenwriting, same thing. I thought, am I any good? I have no idea. But I keep doing it. And I figure there's a reason I keep doing it, telling stories. And I hope to sell my movie this year. So anyway, my website is just on Facebook. It's Improv Foodie or Marcy Schacter. I probably have like several different Facebooks, but you can look up Marcy Schacter and Improv Foodie. And that's about my love for food as well. And yeah, it's been a great pleasure to share what I've been through, and hopefully it inspires some people. Take another look at what we do.
Absolutely. And I just,
inspired me.
okay, I was going to say, and the last thing that I said I wasn't going to say, is there a name to your movie? Is there something that as this podcast goes out to the world, is there anything that you need for that movie that you'd like to put out there?
Oh, well, the TV series is called Lies Become Us. And it is a very dark dramedy of women trying to overcome a lot of flaws and damage and belief system issues. And it's taking them on a journey they never thought they were going to go on and put them in all kinds of danger. It's sort of a analogy of what I believe. If you don't pursue the thing from a true, honest, authentic place, if you go down the wrong path, this is what will happen to you. In my TV series, this is not good stuff. So we got to be authentic. We got to tell the truth to ourselves first. And so that's called Lies Become Us. I have many projects. My book, though, is called Feet Off the Ground. That's my memoir. And you know how you're told your whole life, get your feet on the ground? Above the ground. That's what I wanted, to look down and get a different perspective of the bigger picture and what we're here to do. So that's
right.
cool.
Can't wait to watch that. And so for everyone, there's so much information. We will put information with our podcast because obviously I think there's probably also going to be a recipe book at some point, or I don't know what. But
there will be.
Yeah, thank you. And go ahead, Deborah. Close.
No, I just want to close it out. So I think just putting that out there to the universe like that, just attracting some great people to help you to be able to facilitate that. And joining, because I know that you're a big woman on collaboration and support. So I'd love to see that happen for you and get out there sooner, quicker. So as always, a pleasure, Miss Caroline, spending some time with you, being able to bring this kind of thing to bring this kind of thing to people's awareness. So I'm going to sign off. It was great hanging out with you ladies, and I'm sure we will do it again soon at the book launch. So at the book launch, we will be all announcing on our social media. So please tap in on the book launch that we'll all be part of this month coming.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay.